This afternoon session, we're going to be reviewing Introduction to Resumes. Woohoo! Everybody in? Everybody able to get into it? Now, there's also a handout. Please make sure you have that handy, the handout. At one point, we're going to be referring to it. Should be attached to the actual content of the Google Classroom. All right. So, Carlos, what do you think a resume is and why is it important overall? Can you share out? What more or less is it to you?
It's your portfolio. It showed your background experience, your qualifications, and just like I said, it's a portfolio of yourself in paper, in document, and it's really important when you're trying to get a job.
Yeah. Obviously, this document shows the employee not only your past experience, but like you said, your skills. And hopefully these skills are relevant and aligned to the actual job that you're applying for. Sometimes we put so much information just to show what we are capable of, and it's just not giving the information that they're looking for. So we need to be careful with the resumes. A lot of the times you'll hear the saying that your resume should match or should be to the job that you're applying for. Not so much of a concentrating on your work history, but concentrating on your work history and how it's relevant to what you're applying towards. To interest your employee, you have to have enough to invite them to the next round of the process, basically. Get them so encouraged to say, hey, Carlos or Daniel, I want you to come in for an interview or be a video interview or something because what is in here interests me. And I've stated it before, sometimes it's not even a human, or a majority of times now, if you're applying online, it is an algorithm that the computer is doing. And for you to get to this next round, you must beat this algorithm or show the algorithm that you have the qualifications that they're looking for. If we just
YouTubers then.
What was that?
Oh no, it's just a joke. You have to become a YouTuber, beat the algorithm.
Yes.
Guys, one thing that I want you guys to think when it comes to a resume is that it depicts you professionally. It's like a photo of your professional portrayal. So you have to protect it. In many ways, you do want to have a degree of ownership about it. You don't want anybody to be editing it. Most times when we distribute a resume, we make sure that it's PDF'd instead of just a Word document. That it has a degree of ownership of it. You know, it's something that depicts your professional ways of what you've done, what you've achieved, and so start thinking like it is something important that that defines you professionally. When it's by you, when you're like carrying it, when you hand it out, but also when it's out there in a professional world and environment, right? So you don't want to lie when it comes to a resume. It's the truth.
Yeah.
You might put things in a sense with words that enhance what you've done, but you do not want to lie. When you lie in a resume, it shows you in the interview that you're lying because you're not going to be able to back up what you're saying. So, yeah, just that I wanted to say for now. I'll jump in some more throughout the session.
Thank you. Yeah, so you don't want to lie, like it says, and what we mean also by the saying is towards the job that you're applying for is that you're going to look at the skills that they're looking for. And based on these skills and or responsibilities, you want to make sure that if you have done it and you do know how to do it, is showing on your resume. And that's what they mean by that saying. You never want to put the whole thing and make it look like their job posting because then that's even worse. That's even obvious. and they're going to just drill you on your resume when you come in to see you even know any of the key words that pertain to those skills and or tasks that they require. Thank you, Rolando. That is correct. That feedback. So let's take out the resumes. You'll notice there's 2 or 3 pages or 4 pages there. You have 2 people there. You have Mike and you also have Sandra. I believe Sandra may be first. What I want you guys to do is look at the main parts of this resume and see what it tells you about it. And if you were an employer, what about this resume might make you want to hire that candidate? Which one would you hire out of the 2? Questions or doubts? And then last question is, what would make this candidate applicant resume better, if anything? If there's anything you would recommend? Okay. Questions? Doubts? A la Juan? A la two? A la bing bong bang? No? All right. Okay, guys, welcome back. So, who did you guys hire in breakout room number 1?
We chose Mike.
Okay, why did you guys choose Mike? What was one of his leading things to choose him?
Let me go back to the resume. So we saw that he had a year doing internship at Global Crossings Telecommunications, and based off that, we just thought he had more experience as opposed to Sandra. Yeah, he just seems more suitable, and he had like the appropriate qualifications for the job.
Okay.
Which was, you said it was related to cloud computing, right?
That's what we eventually said. We were at first saying that we don't know, but I said eventually we're going to say cloud computing, but yes.
Guys, let me jump in for a second and tell you, and let me be the hiring manager for a second and tell you what I would be looking for in a resume. Number 1, activities for hobby. Sandra is in a basketball team, right? What is that telling me as an employer? She's a team player, right? Opposite to probably Mike, which he's math club, maybe a nerdy kind of guy, not very social, right? So customer experience, I can tell about Sandra from one of the functions that she's greeted and assisted, right? So she's got a great customer friendliness, measured and weighted packages together with Los Angeles movers and all that. Maybe she's got inventory skills, right? Those are the things in the lines of that a recruiter would be, an employer would be looking for. So she also followed in honored instructions for walking dogs and all that. Definitely that ensures that she's got those traits. Now, as far as Mike, coordinated with technicians and sales to provide full customer service package, that probably denotes a little bit of a team player. But those would be things that an employer would be looking at when looking at a resume. Okay, I'm done. Just a few pointers there.
Thank you. So any other feedback on team 2? Who did you guys pick, Mike or Sandra?
We picked Mike.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to go into the room telling you guys cloud, because now everybody wants to pick Mike.
But why Mike?
Why Mike, though? Be that you didn't know what position, why would you pick Mike?
Well, the problem is it did skew our decision because you said it was tech related, so we went with Mike.
That's what I said in the latter, but I wanted to say in the first one, we wanted to look at both of them. Who do you think has more experience out of both? Before we even know what job it is, who do you think has better experience and why?
Sandra has more experience. if it's not related to like tech or anything like that, she has more experience with working at several jobs.
Sandra she has a really wide array of skills.
Shows me that she's adaptable, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else that might skew my decision, not knowing what it's going for?
Now, guys, look at this. For experience, even though Mike seems more suitable for the position, he only did that function for about a year, right? The rest was pretty much in the lines of, just customer service.
Yeah. So I think we kind of jumped the gun and we went to the latter part. Everybody's saying that now that we know that it's going to be for a large IT firm, we seem to want to go for Mike. So can we share out now that we know it's for Mike, what's pushing us to do this choice? We saw Sandra had great qualities. She's very adaptable. Why not her for technology?
I have another
Where's the mic?
reason.
I was gonna say that a lot of like people that are hiring, they want people that already have experience, so you don't have to train them as much, and that's why they would probably pick Mike over her because he has experience with tech, and he did an internship. So that's one of the reasons I would think they would pick him over her.
Okay.
I have something that's maybe interesting.
Okay.
There's also a question too. I know adapting is very important, but I know a lot of companies that don't like people switching often. And based on looking at Mike versus Sandra, Mike may have a little bit more work experience, maybe by like a year, maybe 2 years, but she's constantly switch versus Mike. Mike has only done, at this point, one switch versus she has done 2 switches. Does company care about how you job hop and what is those years within the job hop? Doesn't matter.
Actually,
very good question.
That's a great question. Yeah, Lázaro, I think let me jump in for a second, Diego. Yeah. I think as far as jumping, that's usually handled on a personal basis. Not just because you see those jumps doesn't mean the person is just not happy with the job or that is trying to do something that is not a good worker. It might be logical reasons for doing that. If you see growth in these jumps, it might explain why the person is just trying to grow career-wise. But those are things that you detect during the interview. Thank you, Diego. That was my take on that.
Good. No problem, man. Now, you know what it's telling me right away without even knowing their ages? What's the variance? And why? Anybody can figure that one out? I can tell right away that most likely Sandra, she's what they call that new age Z or generation Z or Y. They're constantly moving and or looking for bigger and better things. While for me, Mike, I would have the assumption here that he is one of the older crowd who doesn't seem to want to jump and is more dedicated on long-term commitment to a job. It's a lot of the things that a lot of people have noticed. A lot of the young crowd nowadays is show me the money. I want the money now versus all these old companies who used to have the retirement funds and all this stuff. That's why the 401k has come along. Before, it used to be that you just got paid with your retirement. There was no such thing as getting anything except for maybe stock options from the actual company. So you'll see these, and this is like Rolando said, we need to make it as a one by one and notice exactly who and how they're progressing. It could be that the other jobs, for instance, if we look at it, speed walking a dog versus going to movers and then to the UPS store, she's obviously progressing. She's not going from one to another one where it's even worse, or jumping around to going crazy to too many locations. Looks like a lot, but if we notice, it's every year that she has progressed, and she stayed in the UPS store for 4 years. She wasn't really jumping a lot. If you look at my resume, my history is very long. So I have to actually cut out some of my history. I can't include it all in there. That's another reason why we want to make sure we also include the main things that really entail towards the job that we're applying for. You're putting dog walking there, not sure if she's really looking for an IT job, right? Any other
Yep.
feedbacks on these resumes?
I may be ahead, but format, I know it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't experience would be like the top you want to put, or education? And if it is, does it depend on the job?
It all depends on your education.
And actually,
Your
who asked that question?
Me, Lázaro.
Lazaro. Okay, so one thing that we'll experience with these sessions here at Generations and Resume is that they're going to give us a specific formats to follow, right? And that's fine. But there are latest trends when it comes to resumes, right? So we'll in previous cohorts, we've had people just come and give us lectures on resumes, and we've heard them talk about latest trends. Like in latest trends, they want you to list your experience first, or in some other cases, they want you to list education first. So it's good to stay afloat as to how what the latest trends are guiding us to do, to make it more, to modernize it a little, to bring it up to speed with what employers are looking for. So what is the mentality behind it? Not to be stuck to a specific format, to be flexible, not to fear going to your resume and editing it, moving things around, updating stuff. That is the mentality to have. Not to fear editing a resume, not to have a generic one, because we want to be able to tailor these resumes based on the function, on the job we're looking for. So we have to be open-minded. Sometimes maybe our own eyes are telling us, hey, this looks better, or I have better qualifications experience-wise or educational-wise. So let me move things around. You have to follow your heart sometimes, but you also need to follow the latest trends. What are employees looking for when it comes to resumes? No. So that's a good question, Lázaro. But again, have the mentality that you're not fearing putting some edits into this and organizing it, editing it, wording it different. And later on throughout the session, we're going to see techniques as to how to deal with this. We'll run into action verbs and how to make it more efficient, right? And remember, who is going to be reading this? The employer. We have to use vocabulary that the employer is used for, where he can decode exactly how he could use you. All right, I'm done. I took too long. Sorry.
Okay. In reference to the sections, as we said, it's depending actually on the individual. And the trends that he's saying is, if you have no experience or no education, will determine where you're going to put this information. The common one, let's say you are the person that has it all. Common one is in these sections. We have our contact information. Usually, if we have a very good higher education, it's something that we would want to show second, and or skills. Once again, these are things depending on where you're going for to apply. If you have more skills than experience, again, you're going to put your professional experience, professional education. That's another key word there. I wouldn't put education. I put professional experience, professional, because that's what you are. You are a professional at what you do. That would make it stick out. If I just say experience, doesn't tell you anything except for I have experience. Those are key words that you want to use in these things. And obviously the actual amount of experience, skills, or education is where you're going to flip-flop. But if you have the perfect trio, we will go with second on the education. Another thing we should notice here is that our job experiences, our past job experiences, we should have the latter first and the oldest last. In other words, the one that I'm currently in should be on the top, and all the way on the bottom, the last one should be the one that was the furthest away from the date that we're currently working with.
Actually, and if we look at the resume sections, page 8 of Nearpod, we can tell, we can see it's got professional summary. As of November last year, a resume professional came to tell us that that's no longer necessary. But a nice couple of phrases, couple of lines, professional summary, it's a good thing. It actually sometimes shows your heart towards specific functions or positions. So that's an example of latest trends when it comes to resume. Another one that was taken out is, I don't know if you guys have seen it, at the bottom of a resume where it says references upon request. Even that has been taken out with the latest trends. So again, and I'm only mentioning this so you guys stay on top of what are the latest things. We don't want to make it look old, right? We don't want our resume to look old, as if we follow the trends that were used last decade, because it doesn't look like, you want to look fresh, young, that you're on top of things. So, but it's good to actually come up with a good professional summary, you know, just in case you decide to put it again, depending on what you're applying for. Sorry, Diego, your turn.
No problem, Bobs. All right, so our main objective is hopefully to be able to list these 3 sections of the resume, understand what goes in each section of the resume, and describe the past experience so they represent the skills related to the job. So what are the 5 sections do you think that should be included in every resume? What are the 5 sections?
Experience,
Education.
skill,
Mm-hmm.
Contact information.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, from a viewer, from an employer perspective, we probably want already in our head to list it in order, right? We want to denote who this belongs to. So we will start with a contact information. And that's going to help us. The minute we start seeing it, how it's going to be formatted is the minute we start seeing it in our head, how it's going to look. What this professional picture of ourselves is going to look like. So we want to put our name, our nice name with nice information about ourselves, phone number, email address, all that stuff. So we're already thinking how to format it when we list these sections.
The 3 main sections that we've stated over and over again is your contact information, your education experience, and then obviously, depending on our actual experience and stuff, we have these here. So the contact information, you have your professional summary, as we stated, core qualifications, or your professional skills, as I alluded to earlier, your professional experience, and lastly, your education. Those are the 5 sections you should have in a professional resume. You don't want more than 1 to 2 pages unless it really calls for it, because some positions are so, for instance, my position that I applied for prior to this required a pretty robust resume because of the fact that a portfolio or a program manager has to list a lot of skills that pertain towards this it takes up a lot of space. And the actual work that is included in there is much more detailed than just any other ones. All like we said, we massage it to the position that we're actually going towards. So imagine you're an employer looking for we're on slide 10, 2 resumes for the role of a support engineer. One applicant's experience as contact center agent for a retail website and one has past experience as a line cook. Which one would you hire and why? Christina.
Is it from the examples?
From what I just said right now. One's a contact center agent that used to work for a retail website, right? And the other one, is a line cook at a restaurant. And I'm trying to fill up a role for a support engineer. We're on slide 10, the top.
Probably the first one.
Right? He's one with experience already, at least in a service center. It looks like contact center, a retail website, fine and dandy, but he does have customer service and experience with answering phones, it looks like. Next one. Alexa, you may not have professional experience in the specific field yet, but you would likely have other experience in developing skills that are relevant to the role. What could we do if I was maybe a line cook or something? What can I do to try to help myself? What skills could I develop and or show that I can actually be a support engineer? What should I do with my resume? Obviously, my work experience is not going to help me, but where can I help myself in this resume to try to make myself stand out if I was that line cook?
During your, like, you have good communication.
Your skills, right?
Your skills,
Communication skills, teamwork, and or other skills professional skills that I may have. If my professional experience is not helping me, I got to help myself either with the skills that I already have and or that I'm developing. Maybe in my education, I can state that I'm currently learning certain new skills. Okay, next slide. Now, how can this help us? We're on slide 11. Action verbs. Now, these are the words that express something someone has accomplished. Emphasize the relevant skills you've developed when discussing each position. We notice in the sample resumes, the applicant wrote solving customer problems. Her time as a software engineer in the intern position. Though engineer software is different than cloud computing, a solution-based mindset applies to this. So solving customer problems kind of stands out for me as something that she is action and doing and that I want. That is key when we're doing our skills. They should sound as action verbs.
And actually, guys, later on, as we start coding our own resumes, remind me to distribute a couple of documents on action verbs, because we do want to use the right verbs, the verbs that resonate better with an employer, right?
Yep.
Instead of saying, hey, I help my coworkers, you probably want to use, I led a team of guys. You know, just a quick example, how action verbs and the correct action verbs could denote, give more tone to the functions you executed in doing these jobs. So remind me to distribute these lists later.
Yeah. For instance, we look at Mike's resume. He uses several action verbs. He uses assisted, created, coordinated, in the point where he even says, you know, that he assisted customers, created schedules, coordinated with his teammates. These are all action verbs, saying what is it that he's doing. He's not just babbling about what his job entails. If not, he's getting and using these key words to be able to call to the attention, once again, either that algorithm that the computer is doing or the human eye when they're coming through that second pass and looking at these resumes. Action verbs are used to be able to obviously describe your skills. Next section here. True or false? All right, hit the wrong place. You guys tell me if it's true or false. Okay. So, in the experience section of the resume, should I put past jobs that are in my field that I am applying for? Is that true or false? Should I do that?
Can you repeat, please? I can't
Experience.
hear well.
In the experience section of my resume, I should only list past jobs that are in the field that I am applying for. True or false? What do you guys think?
I want to say false.
That is correct. It is false. Now, do you know why?
Because it wouldn't be in chronicle order, and it may show that you have a gap in experience.
That's one reason we don't want that gap. And at the same time, when we are doing this, as long as the description that you're putting in there emphasizes the skills that are related to the field that you're applying for, it is strongly recommended to put it in there. If we leave a big gap in employment, it's not going to help us. And obviously going into big details about what I did in Publix, if it has nothing to do with the job that I'm applying for, I shouldn't be putting it. I put customer service, a team player, assisted customers, whatever it is that I can put that has to pertain to the job and the skills that they're looking for. But I don't want that humongous gap. Another thing that we need to look at when I'm putting my contact information, should I put hotmama25@yahoo.com? That is an acceptable email. No, right? That's not an acceptable email. Remember, we need to look professional in our emails. I know we all have our own personal emails. We need to have that email for the resume, for the jobs that we are applying for. You should have one that has your name, first name and last name, and hopefully with initial form or something, whichever way you want to do it, and with hopefully numbers that don't correspond to any other type of texting. Obviously, those numbers should hopefully not even have your anything to do with your social security or anything like that. God only knows what people come up with. Questions or doubts? All right, in the education section of my resume, should I list my education in reverse chronicle order or in chronicle order? In other words, should I do what just is happening now, or the first thing that I did when I first graduated from high school?
Reverse.
That is correct. Both my education and my work experience should be in reverse chronicle order. What's going on now? Next question, in the experience section of my resume, is it okay to just list past job without any information?
Oh.
No. We should have, as we stated, a little short description of your role, which include what? Prepositions, nouns. What are we going to put in there? Anybody remember what we're putting in there? Action verbs. Action verbs.
Yeah.
All right. Now, last question for you guys. I should use the action verbs when describing my past job experiences. Yes or no?
True.
That is true. going towards slide 15 if there's no questions at this part. Resume challenge, as we stated, gaps in works experience. If we got time off and stuff like that, that's sometimes hurts us. So we need to be able to address gaps, usually in our cover letter and or obviously in our explanation to them. We should be prepared. Some people even put it in there, you know, hey, you know, a house dad, or I don't know how to say it, another terminology, something like that, taking care of children or aging parent, whatever it is, during that time frame to show that, hey, I wasn't just chilling at home doing nothing on my parents' couch. I actually was doing something. Or even
Coronavirus.
well, yeah, even coronavirus would be an explanation, right? Or I could put that my education time, obviously, studying. Lack of experience, that's another huge challenge to have. We always want to make sure that we add related employment activity. So whatever job we had, what activities did I do in this job that can help me with the job that I want to apply for? All that is what we need to do. And that's why we say, when you're writing a resume, you write it towards the position you're going for. You're not making it up. You're just changing the key words that pertain to the job that you're looking for. They must be skills and or related activities that you did do. You're not going to make up things. Now, unrelated experiences. These, obviously, we have to play up the skills you gained in previous possessions instead of focusing on the tasks that you actually perform. You could say, I learned a lot of skills. As you can see, I've been challenged in many jobs and learned new skills that were required for me. And I believe that in this new position, I will be able to adapt and learn quickly. Use it to your advantage. You have so many skills. Okay, they don't mean anything to you, but I didn't have these when I first started that position, and I do now because I'm a very quick learner and I'm willing to learn. I'm a person that gets things done. Questions or doubts? Next area is our frequent job changes. Obviously, we said that nowadays there is people who do obviously go from one to another if they're freelancing work, or even if they're just doing contracted work, then they will obviously be having a lot of different types of job roles. If you have too many, obviously, showing that, like we said, even a coronavirus as an explanation, company closed, downsizing, global economy, relocated to a new city, all those should be stuff that we could try to point out. Sometimes those are obvious, obviously, because if you're putting where the company name is in the city and they see that it's gone from one city to another, then obviously you're moving. So there's a reason why. Incomplete education, that hurts a lot of people where they go and they have so many years, but they don't have full credits. Obviously, that's still good if you're current, if you're still going to school. That's a reason, invalid reason for obviously incomplete education because you're still in school. Questions or any concerns on slide 16? Okay, slide 17. Which of these resumes ideas might be helpful for you as you design your own resume? And which parts of your resume are you still trying to figure out to explain? And the ideas that we've at to this point have gotten around, which ones kind of resonated with you guys? Anyone?
Use action words in the beginning.
In yes, the action verbs to describe the skills and or activities that we had, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
The trends and recruiters. That was surprising for me.
Well, there's another surprise for you guys. Did you know that no matter what, you need at least 2 resumes? Can anybody tell me why?
One is general, as in it just has everything, and then the other one is the tailored one to the job you want to apply for.
Yeah.
Usually you have a
Okay, I'll give you a big hint. They're the exact same resume. Now go.
oh, you give a copy to the recruiter, and you have one for yourself.
It's digital. I'm gonna go for another one. I believe it or not, I was shocked when they told me this. I'll stop teasing you.
Oh,
All right.
I guess you have Word and PDF.
You have Word and you're close, and text. So it may be a Word/PDF format, which is the fancy with the bullet points, and then you'll have a plain text version. You will see this a lot in the sites that ask you to copy and paste your resume into that site. Not sure if you guys have experienced this. Sometimes they ask you to upload the file, and sometimes they ask you to copy and paste. So that copy and paste must be in TXT format. You cannot have any bullet points. You can't have any fancy stuff associated with it. It must be complete text.
But why would they want it like that?
Algorithm for the computer.
Yeah, it is. I think it has to do with
It's
the
the
fact
computer.
that bullet points and all that are specific codes to those characters, special characters.
Correct.
And then it has difficulties dealing with a specific protocol that's used to capture these resumes. It's like some sort of a format that's used widely to store this information.
My problem as an employee, when you give me a file, we've already said, I'm either going to give it to you in PDF or I'm going to give it to you in Word. So now I have to create a brand new program that's going to go read this PDF or read this document or read this Google Doc, or you get my point? It gets very, very tedious, me trying to inject this into my actual system to be able to get what I want to create the algorithm. If you create a text copy and you copy and paste it to my website, I now have the capabilities of easy access to every single applicant. I don't have to create anything to read this. I don't have to try to inject anything. It is in my database now. I can manipulate the data and look for what I'm looking for.
And you know what, Diego? I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I totally understand the fact about the 2 resumes. But after this this Corona stuff, we might need to have some sort of video resume. Now that we have all these
well, the closest thing to that right now, a good point, is your LinkedIn profile. That is your digital footprint. If you're not in LinkedIn, you are technically not going to get a job. I would say more than 80% right now. You must be on LinkedIn so that your resume is corresponding to that. And on top of it, in LinkedIn, there's people that actually can vouch for you and your skills, lack of a better word. They actually can.
And later on, we'll have session on sorry interrupted, Diego. Later on, we'll have session on LinkedIn profile, right?
I'm not sure if we still have those sessions here, but yes, the ultimate goal is that when they finish their resume is with ease, it has an injection that you can upload your doc up to them, and it will create your profile for you. That is the goal.
Okay. If not, we'll have to do it individually, guys. But even before graduation of this program, you should have a good LinkedIn profile already in place. And one of the mentors will definitely get with you guys on that if that session doesn't exist in the program.
I know
'Cause you
next week
gotta
we
have
are
it.
working. All of us are next, I think Thursday or Friday. If we look at the calendar next week, we are working on our resumes for sure.
Okay, good.
Any other questions or doubts? Okay. So what parts of your resumes are you still trying to figure out and how to explain? Anybody want to give me an example of what part of their resume they're a little bit too still lost from what we just talked about?
Should depending on the job, should the resume be wordy or simplified as much as possible? Like if it was related to an information technologist like position.
That
So
depends on the level, the degree of knowledge and or responsibilities required. So if the position's for a help desk, you'll notice that when you go and apply for it, it's going to show you so much stuff that's there. You don't want to go so much in detail and too much wordiness into these things. Because if it's too long and it's more than one page, unless if it's a very high-end position, usually when it's past one page, you won't get anybody looking at that second page. Just as a
and
rule of thumb.
one thing that's important too, and it's not written anywhere, but it's definitely something obvious and it's behind the scenes. Resumes do have a visual aspect to them, right? We want to captivate the employer with what it looks like, not with excessive colors or anything like that, but that it also reflects in the wordiness. You know, we don't want to lose the reader of the resume by over-explaining, right? It's just common sense and logics behind it. It has to be a nice picture of your professional side. And there is a visual aspect to it. So I want that to resonate with all of you guys. It has to look pretty. It has to be a pleasure to read, because that's how you have to captivate the employer. If you want to be hired, you have to consider all this. Now, if you don't want to be hired, then do the opposite, right? But you're excited about the position. The money looks right. It's a place to grow. Make that picture of yourself, of your professional image, the right picture. So the decoration doesn't come with extra colors and with wordiness. It comes with the action verbs, with things that denote what you've done, what you've with where you have gone and where you have taken a company that you have worked for, how you have helped that company. So those, remember, the visual aspect of the resume should include something that's pleasant for the reader to stick to it and to captivate them. Okay, I'm done there.
Okay.
That's comfortable silence.
Okay. So, like we said, it all depends. Depends on the job position and the amount of experience that you have. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. As you can see here, this is more for project management. I have my languages that I know, the software I'm fully aware of, the management skills that I have, and the actual technologies and or information. But this is required. This is highly required. All these skills are mandated for a actual position.
Diego, you're a Six Sigma black belt?
Yes, senor.
I praise you for that. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I got that with UPS, within UPS.
That is awesome. Yeah, I guess it's required there because of to simplify errors and to avoid all those issues, right? Deal with processes. I love it. It's cool.
So mine's kind of lengthy, but if I don't do this, I assure you that when they come in and they're looking for what pertains to monitoring activities and or different stuff with project management, if I don't put that, I noticed that I wasn't getting the calls. I was trying to squeeze it all into one page and I wasn't getting the calls. when I was able to explain what the positions had and show the action verbs to them, the calls started coming in because there they could see that I did have what they're looking for. So, begin brainstorming less. So let's now think about this. List any work experiences or professional skills that could be on your resumes, thinking out loud so you can kind of start preparing for next week. The same thing, let's make sure that in our resumes that we have, that we list the experiences in reverse chronicle orders. All right? So you're gonna find your teammates, you're gonna work on it together if necessary to review and see what you guys think about it. You have about 5 minutes to start on this activity. Obviously, you have over a week to complete it, but I will give you guys about 5 minutes to start talking about it. We're in slides 19 and 20, working on the actual resume to look at our resume itself and have a little brainstorming. That way you can show it to your partner and or team, see what they think. Any questions or doubts? All right, opening.
So Oliver, I see a lot of drifting.
That's reflexing.
Thanks, guys, for coming back. I think we have everybody. So, who can share out what new information, or on slide 22, have you gained about resumes? Somebody tell me what they have gained at all throughout this session.
I need to make my resume more concise, a lot smaller.
Okay, any other feedbacks?
Generally, you just have to be real meticulous about it.
Why do you think, Christina, that resumes are important when applying for a job? Why should I have one? Why is it important?
Definitely that shows your experiences and your like soft skills and your technical skills that you might have.
Basically, you.
Being able to explain to an employer with ease. If we also go over our resumes, make sure that we know what's in there, because unfortunately, there's people that pay people to make their resumes. Be very careful with that. We must know what's inside our resumes at all time, because it's saying what supposedly who and what we do. So, Carlos, do you think that you'll be able to effectively create your resumes a little bit better now, knowing a little bit in reference for the job that you're going to be applying for? You think you might have at least a little better idea of what you should be doing?
Yeah, definitely. By adding, well, more action verbs. When we were in the break room, we were able to kind of look over my resume and kind of they give me feedback on what mistakes that I have and what can I do to correct it. So stuff like that would help better.
Definitely, you know, guys, don't worry. Let's not try to complete our list right away. We want to make sure that we go over this and with a fine comb with our team throughout the week, list out and share with each other what we can to obviously better our appearance of this resume, be our work experience, our skills, whatever we can come up with, so that next week when we're actually doing the session, we can actually be prepared to hopefully iron out that resume and get it well greased. Any other questions or doubts? Well, hopefully by now we'll be able to list the 3 sections of a resume, the main 3 sections that we stated. Do you know, Alexa, what are our 3 main sections, sorry.
Of the resume?
Of a resume, yeah. What are the 3 big main sessions?
The skills, the summary.
Okay, that would be the big 5 ones, yeah. But about the 3 ones that all of them should have, for sure. We said it was contact information, education, and experience. Those are a must, right? Then we have the skills, right? That's other stuff that we can put in there. And hopefully we should be able to describe our past experiences so that they are representing the skills for the job that we're applying for. As we've said, we don't want to have big gaps in work experience, but we want to make sure that the work experience, hopefully, if possible, aligns to explaining what skills correlate to the one that I'm looking for. And in those cases that there is no possibility, obviously show that you were able to accomplish and learn all these new skills on this job, and you're willing to learn new skills and a fast learner. So that obviously iron out why you are the better candidate for the job. Any questions or doubts? That's pretty much it for this session. If there's no questions, I'm going to be stopping here the recording.